It was supposed to be a peaceful day. Snow was falling softly, the world wrapped in white, and there I was, standing in front of a truck with the engine still running, my eyes burning from the road salt, snow slushing under my boots. I just spent the last 4 hours digging out fire trucks and clearing paths for ambulances, for Christ's sake. Saving actual lives, you know. And then here comes Vivian Sterling, president of the HOA, strutting across the snow in her pristine designer heels like she owns the damn world. She looked down her nose at me, all polished, all professional, except for one little thing. She was firing me. We've hired Premier Property Services. Lower bid, better documentation. More cost-effective, she says, like it's a badge of honor. My heart dropped. 30 years of hard work, saving lives, clearing snow, keeping this damn community from becoming a frozen graveyard, and she replaces me with the cheapest option. I stood there, snow swirling around me, diesel fumes in the air, and I could almost taste the bitterness in my mouth. You're firing me for saving lives? I asked, my voice cold, a hard laugh slipping out. I mean seriously. Cost-effective. She's replacing the guy who's been clearing her neighbors' driveways so that sick people can get to the hospital. Just to save a few bucks. She smiled, that smug, cold corporate smile. Bargain basement, I muttered under my breath, knowing full well karma was about to teach this woman the most expensive lesson of her life. It all started when I took over Blackwood Brothers Snow and Ice. My grandfather started this company with nothing but a Ford truck and a snowblade. My father turned it into something respectable. My brother Magnus was supposed to take over after his tour in Afghanistan, but he didn't make it home. And now here I am, 45, running this company. Me and 3 guys who've been with me since the beginning. Tony, our lead driver, lost 2 fingers to frostbite saving a kid during the blizzard of '09. Rick, our salt expert, is as precise with his salt spreader as a pharmacist. And Eddie, our mechanic, can rebuild a transmission in a snowstorm with duct tape and a prayer. We're not flashy. Our trucks are old, but they work. They get the job done. We've never missed a storm, and we've never left anyone stranded. That was our thing, Millbrook Estates, a neighborhood that's been our bread and butter since '94. 47 homes nestled in rolling hills. Old-timers who remember when this was dairy country. People like Dorothy Finch, who bakes cookies for my crew every year. People like Harold Martinez, who runs the fire department from his kitchen table. The Kowalski family, 4 generations in this town. And then came Vivian Sterling. Corporate shark. Pharmaceutical exec. She moved in, took over the mill owner's mansion, and within 6 months, she'd infiltrated the HOA board. 2 years later, she was president, promising to bring in professional management. The first thing she went after? Every handshake deal that kept this neighborhood running. The landscaper who'd been here for 15 years? Replaced with a company from 2 counties over that charged double. The handyman who fixed porches for beer money? Fired because he didn't have the proper contractor's license. When Pete Kowalski retired from snow removal after 40 years, she circled like a hawk, ready to pick up the kill. At October's HOA meeting, she made her move. We need to modernize winter services, she said, tapping her nails on the table like a ticking clock. Professional standards. Comprehensive liability coverage. Competitive bidding processes. I sat back, listening to her drone on. My boots still caked in mud from checking the trucks. I knew this woman was going to destroy everything my family had worked for. She made it clear, my bid wasn't good enough. My bid for $8,500 for the season, the same rate I'd been charging for 3 decades, wasn't going to cut it. Premier Property Services, offering their professional services for $6,200, had taken the cake. They had trucks that gleamed like they'd never seen a real winter. The owner, Marcus Webb, looked like he'd stepped out of a construction site catalog, clipboard thick with insurance certificates. He'd driven down from Lancaster County, promising modern, state-of-the-art equipment. I couldn't help but laugh. They weren't equipped to handle the storms that hit this place. And when winter came, when people needed help the most, they'd be nowhere to be found. November rolled around, and sure enough, the calls started coming in. Not from Vivian Sterling. No, she made it clear I was no longer needed. These calls came from neighbors who remembered what competent snow removal looked like. Ezra, I hate bothering you, but it's 8 a.m. and nobody's touched our driveways. Harold Martinez needs to get to dialysis, but we can't get out. The sweet irony of it all, the company that was supposed to be more cost-effective wasn't showing up, and people were suffering because of it. When Premier's trucks finally showed up, it was a joke. 2 trucks barely running, scraping the asphalt with plows that didn't even clear the snow. And they missed 3 entire cul-de-sacs, including the Kowalski Circle, home to 5 elderly couples who could barely afford their prescriptions, let alone pay for another year of this nonsense. And then, Dorothy Finch slipped on her ice-covered walkway, an 83-year-old woman with a broken wrist, all because Premier couldn't be bothered to do their job properly. I was done. This wasn't just incompetence, it was neglect. And it was costing lives. I started documenting everything. I took pictures of the work Premier didn't do. I photographed the salt they used, the stuff you'd find in a playground sandbox, not on a public road. I started gathering the evidence to prove that Premier wasn't just bad at their job, they were breaking the law. I brought it all to my lawyer buddy Jake Morrison. This wasn't just a lawsuit, it was a career maker. He was thrilled. We filed complaints with the County Emergency Services Coordinator. Sterling had just signed death warrants for the residents of Millbrook Estates, and I wasn't going to let her get away with it. In December, a storm hit. The kind of storm that separates the professionals from the pretenders. And you know what? Vivian Sterling thought she was prepared. She sent out an email to all the residents, assuring them that Premier Property Services had it covered. But when the storm hit, Premier's truck died in the middle of the first driveway. The next truck slid sideways across Maple Circle and broke down. And by noon, the streets were impassable. The ambulance couldn't even get through. And that's when I saw her, Vivian Sterling, standing in her driveway, clear as day, while the rest of the community was buried. Her private contractor had been keeping her driveway perfectly clear. The hypocrisy was so thick, you could taste it. I'd had enough. By 4 p.m., we were in full emergency service mode. I fired up my plow truck for the first time in months. By 6 p.m., every driveway in Millbrook Estates was clear, every emergency access route open. When Sterling called an emergency HOA meeting, I knew what was coming. She tried to spin it, tell everyone how unprecedented weather had overwhelmed the contractor. But Dorothy Finch wasn't having any of it. She had the documents, the proof, the ironclad case that Sterling had knowingly endangered lives for the sake of a few bucks. By the end of that meeting, Sterling was gone, arrested for conspiracy to defraud and mail fraud. Her consulting business was shut down, and Premier was off the job permanently. Dorothy Finch, the 83-year-old woman who had been so cruelly undermined, was elected the new HOA president. And the community finally got what they deserved: competent, honest leadership. A leadership that remembered what it meant to care about people, not profits. You know, it's funny. People always think they can get away with anything, especially when they think they're untouchable. But here's the truth: you can't buy your way out of everything. Eventually, the truth comes to light, and when it does, it has a way of burying the lies under a whole lot of snow. So next time you come across someone trying to cut corners at the expense of others, ask yourself, are they worth fighting for? Because in the end, justice always has a way of clearing the path.